Love has a way of disguising itself. At first, it feels like fireworks. The butterflies in your stomach, the late night conversations that stretch until dawn, the intensity that makes you believe you found something rare. You think, this must be it. This is what everyone talks about. But not all love is real love. Sometimes, what feels like passion is just possession. Sometimes, what feels like care is really control. And the most dangerous relationships don't begin with red flags waving. They begin with roses blooming. Shetty once said, "Don't let someone's charm blind you to their character." That's the illusion of love. Toxic partners rarely show their true face at the start. They shower you with affection. They say all the right things. They make you feel like the center of the universe. And for a while, you believe it. You confuse intensity for intimacy. You confuse attention for devotion. You confuse obsession for love. Picture a man fresh out of a breakup. He remembers how it started. She called him her everything. She promised forever. She made him feel chosen. He held on to that beginning long after the cracks appeared. Even when the fights became constant, even when the criticism cut deep, he told himself, "But she loved me once. I know she did." That illusion kept him chained, unable to walk away. This is how toxic love hides in plain sight. It wears the mask of tenderness while planting the seeds of control. It tells you what you want to hear while slowly silencing your own voice. It feels like connection, but it's actually confinement. And because the early days felt so good, you hold on, waiting for them to return. But they don't. The person you met at the beginning was a performance, not a partner. Jay reminds us, real love doesn't demand you to lose yourself. It helps you find yourself. Yet toxic love thrives on the opposite. It begins with flattery and ends with fear. It begins with promises and ends with pressure. It begins with intensity and ends with emptiness. And by the time you see the truth, you've already given so much of yourself away. Contrast it with healthy love. In a real partnership, affection is consistent, not conditional. Respect is given, not earned through obedience. Support lifts you higher instead of holding you down. Healthy love doesn't burn fast and then fade. It grows steadily, becoming stronger with time. But toxic love, it's like a wildfire. It burns bright in the beginning, then leaves nothing but ashes. Imagine standing in front of two doors. One is painted bright, dazzling, magnetic. It pulls you in with promises of excitement and intensity. The other looks quieter, steadier, less dramatic. Most people rush toward the first door, intoxicated by its glow. But behind it lies manipulation, insecurity, and control. The second door leads to respect, patience, and growth. But it doesn't scream for your attention. And that's why so many choose wrong. They mistake the noise of passion for the depth of love. And here's the hardest truth. The illusion isn't always about them. It's also about you. We fall into toxic love because we're searching for something outside ourselves. Validation, security, escape. Jay says, when you don't know your own worth, you'll keep giving discounts to people who don't deserve you. The illusion works because it plays on your hunger. And until you learn to feed yourself with self-respect, you'll keep mistaking poison for medicine. So the first step is awareness, recognizing that not every smile hides kindness, Not every promise hides truth. Not every hand that holds you intends to protect you. The illusion of love is powerful because it feels real. But feelings can lie. Patterns don't. Look beyond the words. Watch the actions. Does the love make you stronger? Or does it make you smaller? Does it bring you peace? Or does it bring you pain? Does it build your confidence? Or does it break it down? The answers are the reality behind the illusion. But here's the suspense that should keep you awake tonight. If you've ever told yourself, maybe this is just how love is. Maybe I'm asking for too much. Maybe I should just be grateful for what I have. You may already be in the trap. Because real love never makes you doubt your worth. Real love never forces you to shrink. Real love never makes you settle for suffering disguised as devotion. The illusion is dangerous, but it's only the beginning. Because once you've been pulled into it, the toxic signs begin to surface. Subtle at first, almost invisible, but growing louder every day. And if you don't see them for what they are, you risk losing not just the relationship. You risk losing yourself. And that's where we go next, the hidden signs that love isn't love at all, but toxicity in disguise. Toxic love rarely shouts at first. It whispers. It creeps in slowly, disguised as concern, as care, as passion. The subtle signs are easy to dismiss because in the beginning, you're still clinging to the memory of how good it once felt. You tell yourself, it's just stress. It's just a phase. They love me. That's all that matters. But deep down, something feels off. And that feeling, that quiet voice inside, is the first alarm. Shetty once said, when someone constantly makes you question your worth, they're not loving you, they're controlling you. That's the first sign. Criticism. In a healthy relationship, feedback helps you grow. In a toxic one, criticism tears you down. It's not about helping you improve. It's about making you feel small. The compliments fade, replaced by comments that sting. You're not enough. You're always wrong. You'll never succeed without me. At first, you laugh it off. But over time, you start to believe it. Then comes isolation. At first, it feels flattering. They want to spend all their time with you. They say. They just care. They want you all to themselves. But slowly, your world begins to shrink. You stop seeing friends. You drift from family. The people who could remind you of your worth are pushed aside until the only voice left is theirs. Jay reminds us, love should expand your world, not shrink it. But toxic love does the opposite. It cages you and convinces you the cage is comfort. Another subtle sign is gaslighting. They make you doubt your own memory, your own feelings, your own truth. You say, that hurt me. And they respond, you're too sensitive. You say, you promised this. And they reply, that never happened. You begin to question your own sanity, wondering if maybe you are the problem. And that's exactly what they want. Because the moment you stop trusting yourself, you become easier to control. There's also the shift in respect. In the beginning, they valued your voice. They asked for your opinion. They cared about your dreams. But slowly, respect disappears. Your needs come second. Your opinions don't matter. What they want is always the priority, and you're left adjusting your life to fit into theirs. Shetty says, Respect is one of the greatest expressions of love. When respect fades, love is no longer love. It's domination. And then comes conditional love. In a healthy relationship, love is steady. It doesn't disappear when you make mistakes. But in a toxic one, love becomes a weapon. It's given when you obey, withheld when you resist. One day, you're adored. The next, you're punished with silence. You start to perform for love, twisting yourself into someone else just to earn it back. But real love isn't earned. It's shared. When love becomes conditional, it isn't love anymore. Picture a man waking up every morning to this cycle. Yesterday, she told him he was her everything. Today, she criticizes his dreams, mocks his efforts, makes him feel worthless. Tomorrow, she'll say she loves him again, and he'll cling to those words like oxygen. That's how toxicity keeps you hooked. It mixes pain with small doses of affection. It's the same way addictions work. You suffer, but you stay for the hope of the next high. Contrast that with a healthy relationship. Your partner may challenge you, but never to belittle you, only to help you grow. They may want time with you, but never at the cost of your freedom. They may disagree, but never dismiss your feelings. Healthy love makes you feel seen, not invisible. It makes you feel safe, not anxious. It builds you up. It never breaks you down. Jay reminds us, the right person doesn't just bring you peace. They protect it. That's the test. If being with them feels like constantly walking on eggshells, if you're always bracing for the next criticism, if you're shrinking instead of expanding, that is not love. That is control. That is toxicity. But here's the truth that stings. These signs are easy to ignore. Because when you've invested your heart, your time, your soul, you don't want to believe you're in something toxic. You hold on to the good moments, the early days, the promises. You convince yourself that things will change. You wait for them to go back to who they were at the beginning. But that person was never real. It was the illusion that pulled you in. And here's the suspense. The real danger of these signs isn't just what they do to the relationship. It's what they do to you. They don't just steal your joy. They steal your identity. They don't just hurt your heart. They rewire your mind. They don't just take your time. They take your future. That's where we must go next. The cost of staying. Because once you ignore the signs, the damage doesn't just stop at your relationship. It seeps into who you are, who you could be, and what you believe you deserve. And that's the cost you cannot afford to pay. Toxic love doesn't break you all at once. It destroys you slowly, piece by piece, until one day you look in the mirror and hardly recognize who you've become. It doesn't feel like falling off a cliff. It feels like drowning in shallow water. At first, you tell yourself you can handle it. You convince yourself the pain isn't that bad. You whisper, everyone has flaws. Every relationship has problems. But over time, the weight grows heavier, and you realize you're carrying a burden that was never meant to be yours. Shetty once said, "Don't let someone else's behavior rob you of your inner peace." Yet, that's exactly what toxic relationships do. They steal your peace silently, day after day. It begins with criticism that chips away at your confidence. You used to believe in your dreams. You used to feel capable. Now, you second Guess every decision. You used to walk with your head held high. Now, you shrink into the background, hoping not to be noticed, because being noticed only brings more pain. The cost of staying in toxic love is your identity. You start losing yourself. You stop doing the things you once loved because they're not good enough or waste of time. Your passions gather dust. Your friendships fade. Your laughter becomes rare. You give up little parts of yourself until there's almost nothing left. Jay reminds us, when you lose yourself trying to please someone else, that isn't love, it's self-destruction. And then comes the cost of your peace. Love is supposed to be a sanctuary, a place where you can rest. But toxic love feels like a battlefield. You're always tense, always bracing for the next argument, the next insult, the next silent treatment. Even in moments of calm, your stomach is tied in knots, waiting for the storm. Peace becomes a stranger, and chaos becomes your normal. But the heaviest cost is hope. Toxic love feeds you just enough affection to keep you from leaving. One day, they tear you down. The next, they apologize. They shower you with words you've been starving for, and you believe, maybe they really do love me. Maybe they'll change. That hope becomes a chain, binding you tighter with every cycle. It convinces you to stay, even when you know you're suffering. Shetty says, don't confuse being wanted with being valued. That's the trap, mistaking temporary attention for real love. Imagine a man who once dreamed big. He wanted to build a business, to travel, to grow. But his toxic partner told him he was foolish, mocked his ambition, laughed at his goals. Slowly, he began to believe her voice more than his own. He stopped chasing his dreams. He stopped believing in himself. By the time years had passed, he didn't just lose the relationship. He lost his future. That is the hidden cost of staying. The life you were meant to live slips away. Contrast this with what love should be. Real love celebrates your dreams. It doesn't clip your wings. It teaches you how to fly higher. Real love is not jealous of your growth. It contributes to it. It doesn't drain you. It energizes you. It doesn't erase who you are. It helps you discover who you could be. That's the difference. One destroys, the other builds. One poisons, the other heals. One chains you, the other frees you. But the hardest truth is this: the longer you stay, the deeper the damage. You don't just lose time, you lose trust in yourself. You begin to believe that maybe you deserve this. You accept a lower standard, and that standard becomes your reality. You forget what it feels like to be respected, to be cherished, to be truly loved. And the longer you forget, the harder it becomes to believe that something better is possible. Jay reminds us, you don't have to stay where your soul is dying. Staying may feel easier than leaving, but ease is not the same as peace. Comfort is not the same as love. Familiar pain is still pain. And no relationship is worth the cost of your soul. But here's the suspense. The greatest sign that you're in a toxic relationship isn't just what they're doing to you. It's what you're allowing to happen to yourself. Because every day you stay, you reinforce the lie that this is all you deserve. Every day you stay, you lose a little more of your strength, your dignity, your identity. The cost is not just the relationship. The cost is you. And that's why the next step matters so much. Because awareness is only the beginning. Seeing the signs is powerful, but unless you act on them, nothing changes. The true turning point comes when you reclaim your power, your self-respect, your voice. And that is where the final chapter begins. Not in pain, but in possibility. Not in loss, but in liberation. Awareness is a mirror. Once you see the truth, you can't unsee it. Once you recognize the signs, the illusion shatters. And that's where real transformation begins. Because the greatest power you hold in any relationship is not whether they change, it's whether you choose to change yourself. Shetty once said, "When you respect yourself, you teach others how to respect you." And that's the first step of reclaiming power, self-respect. Toxic love survives only where self-respect is absent. It feeds on your willingness to tolerate less than you deserve. But the moment you draw a boundary, the moment you say, enough, you starve toxicity of its oxygen. Think of a man who has been trapped in a toxic partnership. For years, he believed the lies. He wasn't enough. He couldn't survive without her. No one else would want him. But one morning, he wakes up and realizes the cost of staying has been too high. He sees how much of himself he's lost. He sees how much time has slipped away. And in that moment, he makes a decision. Not a loud one, not a dramatic one, but a steady one. I deserve more than this. That choice is the beginning of freedom. Self-respect is not arrogance. It's alignment. It's remembering that your worth is not defined by another person's opinion of you. It's reclaiming the truth that you are enough, even without their validation. Jay reminds us, you don't need someone to complete you. You need someone who accepts you completely. And until you accept yourself completely, you'll keep settling for less. Awareness also demands courage. Walking away from a toxic partner is never easy. The memories pull at you, the promises haunt you. The fear of being alone whispers in your ear. But staying is not safer. It's slower destruction. Leaving isn't about hating them. It's about loving yourself enough to choose peace over pain, clarity over confusion, dignity over dependency. Imagine two futures. In one, you stay. 10 years pass, and you are smaller, dimmer, broken by constant criticism and manipulation. In the other, you walk away. At first, it's hard. The nights are lonely, the silence is heavy. But slowly, the weight lifts. You laugh again. You dream again. You start to rebuild the person you were always meant to be. That is the power of awareness. It gives you the choice to build the second future instead of being trapped in the first. Shetty says, don't let someone who broke you keep the pieces. Awareness is gathering those pieces and deciding they belong to you again. It's realizing that your healing is not in their hands, it's in yours. It's no longer waiting for them to change. It's choosing to change your own story. And here's the transformation. Once you step into awareness, you stop chasing toxic love and start attracting healthy love. You stop tolerating disrespect and start commanding respect. You stop seeing love as something you earn through suffering and start seeing it as something that grows through mutual care. Healthy love doesn't demand you to shrink. It doesn't punish you for speaking your truth. It doesn't silence your voice. It celebrates it. But the most powerful awareness isn't about them. It's about you. You begin to see the patterns that led you into toxicity in the first place. You realize how your own wounds, your own hunger for validation, your own fears kept you tied to pain. And in healing those parts of yourself, you ensure that you'll never settle for less again. Jay reminds us, your relationship with yourself sets the standard for every other relationship you have. Heal that, and everything else begins to change. So here's the challenge. Awareness is not passive. It demands action. Seeing the signs isn't enough. Naming the pain isn't enough. You must choose. Will you continue to hand over your worth to someone who breaks it? Or will you step into the strength of reclaiming your life? The hidden signs are no longer hidden. The truth is clear. And once you see clearly, the only question left is, what will you do with it? The power of awareness is not in knowing, it's in acting. It's in walking away when staying means self-destruction. It's in rebuilding your identity from the ashes of broken love. It's in saying, I will never again settle for a love that hurts more than it heals. That declaration is not just freedom from them, it's freedom for you. Jay Shetty reminds us, letting go doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're strong enough to release what was never meant for you. And when you release what was never meant for you, your hands are finally free to receive what is. Real love, real peace, real growth. So stand tall. Respect yourself. Reclaim your power. Because the hidden signs are now revealed. The illusion is broken. And the door to freedom is open. The only step left is yours.